Hey folks, it's DoodlySquatch. Got another video and let's get cracking. So here we go. So the inspiration, I guess, for this video, or this drawing, I call this drawing gossip because I hate gossip and it disgusts me and I just can't, I hate it. But trying to draw my feelings out on the topic. I guess what's got me thinking about it lately is my teenager, my daughter. She has to just kind of deal with the ramifications of gossip a lot, and it's very draining and frustrating and hard to watch as a parent. And I don't, I wouldn't want to pin it all on, girls. Boys gossip too, for sure. It's, it goes by other names, I'm sure, but just, with in her case, it's, it's usually, it's the same people. It's the same people just spreading the same old stories and just sort of poisoning the well elsewhere. And it sucks. It's not fair. I hate it. And it just aggravates me to no end. And, it just comes part and parcel with being in high school. That's, oh gosh, just dealing with people in general. And, I'd love to tell her it stops when you become an adult, but whew, it doesn't. But, my experience with it obviously is different because, I was already kind of a dorky kid, so I was aware of that, and it wasn't some big to do. I had my dorky friends, and that was it. And I feel like it's the same for my son, my oldest. With him, he's got his friends, and there's not a whole lot of drama, I guess, between them, and it's so celebrated, on in entertainment and movies and TV, for girls to be involved in drama and all that, and things like Bad Girls and Gossip Girl, and shows like that. It's celebrated, and I don't really care for that. I don't agree with that. I don't like the idea of it's just how it is. When people are just kind of accepting of it, and if you're a parent and you have a child that is a gossip or is one that spreads stories about others and causes real damage and pain, and you just oh, that's just kids, and it's you're scum. that's all I can say. It's bullying, and it's funny because schools these days are real big on not bullying, but it just feels like this is kind of the battle that's never ending. Because golly, if there's teenagers, there's going to be drama, and there's going to be gossip and people spreading stories and lies, and just making it difficult for people, and it hurts my soul. It makes me sad that I'm having to sort of deal with it secondhand, and just kind of be that safety net for my kids and catch them when they're just crashing down from just this garbage. And yeah, you can see why there's a lot of angry parents out there. But I get to thinking about it. It's like, what is there to do? How to change that? And it's big. There's a lot to it. It might, for me, if I hear something about someone that sounds, awful, I'm not going to take it, I'm not going to believe it immediately. just because it's coming from one person. It's better to do your own research and learn if that's an actual thing. And, obviously the best person to ask is the person, the subject of the thing. But that's always kind of hard to navigate. But, for me, I try to believe what's best about people, unless it's, something I have experienced firsthand, or, it comes from a trusted source. Otherwise, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt when it comes to stuff like that. Just because no one likes being talked about, negatively. And there, for some people that really gets under their skin, really, really bothers them. There are people that really, really worry about what others think of them. My advice to my kids has always been, don't, I say don't let it get to you, but that's kind of a learned thing. Being able to, deal with people talking about you and knowing it's not true and just not caring, it's like, I don't care, whatever, and if someone believes that about me, then, they obviously don't know me well enough, or, something like that. And, those people aren't worth any kind of, rent in your head. And, it's easier said than done. And, it's taken me a long time to sort of thicken up that skin, or just, it's funny because I rarely find myself wondering what people think about me. And it's, partially due to, I don't really care. And I'm not that curious. It's there are plenty of people who like me, and I, give them my time and energy and goodwill, all that stuff. And if someone doesn't like me, cool, they can go, pound sand. They can carry on not liking me, and I don't have to even give them a second thought. And when you're in high school, that's kind of your small little universe, and so everyone that's in that place is the only people you deal with. So, of course you're gonna give more weight to their opinions and things like that, and it makes it more difficult to sort of shrug off that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. That my advice is to just not even put the tools in their hand. They only have as much power over you as you give them. And for me, I just I don't give a crap. Like that's. But it's funny because it doesn't bother me, but knowing that my daughter's kind of dealing with something like that, it really bothers me. So it's, it's a new experience for sure. But I enjoyed drawing this out and kind of getting my, lancing that boil, getting the grump out. And this one's an interesting one because this is before I was able to transfer over the palette I was really used to with Manga Studio. So I'm kind of winging it. It's colorblind boy trying to figure something out. I don't know if this looks like skin tone. It might not, but hopefully in my next few videos I'll have my usual vibrant colors. But it's been a bear dealing with Windows 11. I tell you what, I really don't like Windows 11. It reminds me of Windows Vista, or things like that, where they tried too much to change things, and now my computer is like an annoying little assistant. Every time I start it up, it's like, hey, did you know? I'm like, no, I don't know. Go away, shush. It's like, hey, I hid these shortcuts from you because they're bad, so I hid them from you. Are you happy? No, put them back. And having to do that several times, and Windows Defender keeps turning itself back on. I'll turn it off and tell it to, go piss off, and it comes back, and then it tries to fix things again, and then I have to undo everything it did, and oh my gosh, it's so annoying. But I seem to have gotten a handle on it. So hopefully I'm able to start cranking out videos more regularly and less catch up. Sorry, editor. It's been a lot lately, trying to get these done on time, and but he's a good little editor, aren't you? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Anywho, but we made it through Halloween, and it was, I would say, moderately successful. My kids all had really fun costumes. There was plenty of candy to be had. I dressed up like Waluigi at work. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It's been a while since I've been able to dress up at work and be there for it. Usually I take the time off, but I didn't this time around. But I still have a couple spooky doodles that I will be uploading, just because I still have some. October's over, but whatever. Spooky season forever, baby. Yeah. And then I'm gonna try and get more guests on. I seem to enjoy myself more when I'm chatting with someone, when I'm recording. A lot of times I feel like I'm just rambling, but whatever. It's not like there's a lot of you guys watching these. But here's the final rundown, getting the colors in, trying to just fighting with that palette, man. I'm love being colorblind. But I'm still happy with how it turned out, and more so, it's not so much about how it looks, it's about just getting that grime out, getting those bad feelings out and getting them onto the screen, so they're out of me and out here for people to see. So, moral of the story, don't be a gossip, guys. Be cool. Whatever. But thanks for hopping on. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Do the dance. And I'll see you next time.